So, folks, we covered a lot in our last show. Our last show was really half devoted to the media's change of tone when it comes to the Israel-Gaza war. And now all of a sudden, Morning Joe has turned on Israel. Morning Joe is, grilling Israeli spokespeople about Netanyahu and the suitcases and the Qatar, and they're saying we should condition aid. This is ridiculous. It's out of control. So now it is no longer acceptable to back Israel unconditionally. And so now everybody is in damage control mode, including the aforementioned on this stream, Bill Ackman. So Bill Ackman puts this out. The fucking balls on these people is unbelievable. He puts out a 5-point plan for the rebuilding and reconstruction of Gaza. He wants to rebuild Gaza. Hey, God, we love Gaza. Genocide? What genocide? Oh, come on, we didn't mean anything. We just leveled the whole place and killed a few, 10, 20, 30,000 of you over and over and over again. We smeared anyone who criticized that as anti-Semitic. This guy literally had college kids canceled for speaking out against this. And now here's my 5-point plan. Here he tweets out a few high-level thoughts on a potential solution in Gaza. Step 1, give Gazan residents something to look forward to. Without hope, there is only despair, anger, and violence. Hope comes from Israel's and the United States' commitment that once Hamas is destroyed, Israel and the U.S. will support the creation of new Gaza, subject to security commitments from the U.S. and Gulf states. New Gaza is completely rebuilt. I feel like this should be like a commercial. We should do like an AI commercial. It's like an SNL parody video. New Gaza is completely rebuilt with modern infrastructure.
He's talking about like they cleared weeds to build a subdivision.
Yeah, well, he's talking about like this is a new housing development. You're presenting it to shareholders.
It's so sick and it's so completely out of touch. Like they just don't understand how much they've lost control of this narrative.
Exactly. That he didn't know how repulsive this would come off. New Gaza is completely rebuilt with modern infrastructure, sustainable energy, and clean water. What do you know? And world-class architecture, technology, healthcare, education, favorable taxation. Oh, what, Bill Ackman? Are you going to fucking move there? Favorable taxation. Favorable taxation. Yes. Ron DeSantis will be the elected governor of New Gaza. People are leaving New York for New Gaza by the droves. You can't retire in New York anymore. You have to come to New Gaza if you want a comfortable retirement. Property taxes here are fantastic. Thoughtfully
Masks
designed.
Optional.
Yeah, right. Yeah, masks. No mask mandates in New Gaza. Exactly. Thoughtfully designed business creation incentives and world-class resorts on the Mediterranean. The design of New Gaza.
Basically, he wants to build Hudson Yards in Gaza.
Yes, exactly. Yes, Hudson Yards. For those who don't get that reference, the sort of 30s on the west side of New York City, that was like the last industrial neighborhood of Manhattan. And they very recently got rid of all the taxi cab stands, the horse stables, the mechanic shops, and put up these new fancy luxury apartments. So that's what he's talking about, in a shopping mall and everything. So yes, the design.
It looks, I call it the Borg ship.
Right.
Like it looks like if you went to the Borg homeworld, that's what their architecture would be like.
Yes, indeed. The design of New Gaza begins immediately with a global competition where master planners, architects, technologists form consortiums to compete for a large financial awards and opportunity to build a new city from a blank sheet of paper. The fact that it's a blank sheet of paper is proof that you and everyone who supports this belong in the fucking Hague, not tweeting out these plans about how you're going to rebuild it as this new business mecca in the Middle East. New Gaza is a model city. Think the Saudi Neom.com, but on the Mediterranean. New Gaza is rebuilt and governed by a consortium of Gulf states and the U.S. Economic and tax incentives are designed to encourage private foreign investment. So private sector investors have a vested long-term interest in Gaza, and businesses are incentivized to locate in Gaza. That's step one, folks. That was a long step one. So step one, come up with a big plan for New Gaza. Step two, civilians in Rafah are moved to a refugee camp safe zone built in the Negev desert adjoining Gaza. So clear the people out. Step three, IDF destroys Hamas. Step 4, the reconstruction of Gaza begins. Step 5, civilians return as the city is rebuilt. As always, I welcome your feedback. Well, I gave him some feedback, which we'll get to in a second. If you have nothing constructive to say, please keep it to yourself. Fuck you. Like, how could you say that? How could you say if you have nothing constructive, like you've been constructive this whole time? Flamethrowing accomplishes nothing. Hey, don't be mad at me. I just canceled a bunch of college kids who spoke out against the genocide. Flamethrowing accomplishes nothing. If you think this is a bad approach, please share your better ideas. So now you have some of these Israelis who are trying to, like I said, curry favor with society after advocating for the mass murder of men, women, and kids. Education has to be at the top of that list. Oh, here's the shitlib Israeli. If third parties build a paradise, but a majority of the population is still obsessed with destroying Israel rather than building Gaza, we're back to square one. We've already seen that a population educated to glorify violence will self-destruct to attain their goals. She agrees. Yeah. I love your plan, but I would add a full investment in education. It could be basic skills for children 3 to 14 and technical skills for anyone from the age of 14. It could be a trade or any skills linked to the reconstruction. So we're going to educate the kids how to rebuild the cities that we destroyed. Right? I mean, the gall is just so incredible.
It's so fucking sick, and it is such a colonial mentality. You ever see the Green Berets with John Wayne, and the way they portray the good Vietnamese is very typical of how they would represent colonized people. The children are kind of irascible and adorable and do cute things. And the people have their strange primitive ways, and you have to come and show them how to do everything, but they're so grateful. That's what this vision is. It's this classic Western vision of the inferior peoples of the earth gratefully taking the superior knowledge of the West and thanking them for it.
Yeah. History has shown that coming out of authoritarian regime is not easy for the population. Education plays a big role in the hope for a better future. Well, now he gets some not so positive feedback. I'm sorry, Bill, but I genuinely think you are living in a fairy tale world right now, says Mel. This is something I've observed from supporters of Israel from the very beginning. You all seem totally incapable of understanding how the actions of Israel since 10/7 have forever changed regular people's opinions of Israel and Israelis. No one trusts Israel to do the right thing anymore. Things are never going back to the way they were. A little reality check there from Mel. Here's Paul Bigar. Bill, you'll eventually get to this was a genocide perpetrated by Israel, and then you'll come to realize that you actively promoted it. I'd recommend getting there sooner rather than later. Absolutely.
He'll never get there.
I gave a little condensed translation for those who didn't want to read that whole thing. What this really translates to is promise Gazans a rebuilt society, force Gazans out while we rebuild Gaza. Rebuild Gaza, step 3. Step 4, make excuse for why Gazans can't come back, i.e. Hamas. And number 5, Israelis claim rebuilt Gaza for themselves. That's what would actually happen if they followed Bill Ackman's model. They'd come up with some reason why we can't allow them back, and it's ours, right? My favorite response, though, I ain't reading all that. Free pounds. Gen X girl. Shout out to Gen X girl. That was my favorite of all the replies to Bill Ackman. But it is fucking unbelievable how these people, what, genocide? We love Gaza. We didn't mean anything. We didn't mean any harm to Gaza. It's just that we've been systematically destroying the society from A to Z for the past 6 months and insisting anybody who had anything to say about it must be an anti-Semite. But no, look, hey, we're down. We are all pro Gaza. We love Gaza. We're going to rebuild. It's going to be great. It's going to be better than ever. You're going to be glad we did this. That's what the subtext of that is. Hey, it's going to be better than ever because of what we just did. Hey, I mean, absolute fucking sickos.
Sometimes you have to commit a genocide to make a capitalist, authoritarian, heavily surveilled hellhole off a beach.
Yeah. That is just incredible. Just an incredible proposal.
I think of Hudson Yards partly because when, I don't know what's up and running now, but the way it was designed, they have the capacity to watch the population by heat signatures within Hudson Yards. And this is for traffic studies.
Interesting.
So what do you? That's what they did theoretically with people they don't want to kill.
Right.
What the fuck do you think they would do with this in terms of surveillance? I'm not even kidding. There would be a fucking camera. Every 5 feet, right?
Yeah.
It would just every place there would have a camera. It would just be constant surveillance. It would be this capitalist authoritarian version of Orwell.
Please clap.